Now, what the Rebbe used to do is he used to take the talis. If you want, I can give you even the way the Rebbe held the talis was unique. I mean, the whole year, it was a very, very interesting sight. The Rebbe held it. The Rebbe held it in a very interesting way. Just give me a second over here. I can actually show how it was done. So the Rebbe had the talis on his shoulders, but then the Rebbe would lift the talis like this. And if you can see it well, I can holding the talis like this of his head, the two sides, and the Rebbe would begin the first pasuk of the kapitel Lam Natseyach Livnei Koirach Mizmoir. And then, of course, everybody would respond, and then everybody said, what the Rebbe then did, took the talis, and he threw it over his head and over all the packages of the pidyonis. Mamish threw it. I remember one year, the Rebbe gave such a strong throw that the talis flew over his head, totally the bottom of the talis, and the Rebbe quickly picked it up and put it back on his head also. So, while everybody was saying the 7 recitations of that chapter of Tehillim, the Rebbe was covered completely with the talis, and the Rebbe, which covered also those packages of pidyonis, and the Rebbe was, now I remember the very first time that I was down on the floor, but I was actually able to see, and the Rebbe was of course saying the chapter of Tehillim. It is known that the Rebbe sang a nigun, but you had to be very, very close to hear the Rebbe sing a nigun. And there were times when the Rebbe would cry uncontrollably. The first year I noticed how the Rebbe was under the talis. The Rebbe was, you could see how the talis was lying on the Rebbe's hand, and the Rebbe's head was in his hands, and the Rebbe was shaking. The Rebbe was shaking. You could see how the Rebbe was shaking from the crying. When that was over, so then the Rebbe would stand upright, and you could see how the Rebbe's face was very red and teary from that. And then the Rebbe would hold. Then the Rebbe would hold again the talis like this. I hope I'm holding it correctly, right? The talis with like this, over his head and open the talis like that. And then the Rebbe would start saying the psukim in a special tune. They say that this is the tune, I believe, of his father. Then while the Rebbe was saying the psukim, so I showed you how the Rebbe had the talis. When the Rebbe made the brachas, all right, before the Tekios, the Rebbe had the talis behind his ears. Right? Mamash had the talis over his head, talis behind his ears. That's how the Rebbe had it, with the talis behind his ears. Rabbi Tenenbaum, you remember this? Rabbi Tenenbaum, I'm looking at you. You can start with here. Do you remember? I'm not making this up, right? The Rebbe had the talis behind his ears.
I'm not sure every time, but quite a few times.
On the